Good morning, everyone. Inshallah, today we are going to talk about the lesson 3 in unit 3, electrons and chemical bonding. This lesson is very, very important, girls. It will relate all the information that we took about the atoms and about the periodic table to the chemical reactions, how everything that we learned help us to understand the chemical reactions. This is very important. We'll understand first about what are the chemical bonds, how can molecules be formed, then what are the valence electrons. We started talking about valence electrons before. We will talk about the models of the atoms that can help us in studying the atoms. We will talk about the chemical reactions. We'll start talking about the chemical reactions actually. Then in the next lessons, we will talk about the types of the chemical bonding, the chemical bonds. So, from the beginning, what is a chemical bond? It is an interaction that holds atoms or ions together. What are atoms? What are ions? I think we talk about that from the first lesson in this unit. You know, the atoms generally should be neutral. What do we mean by neutral? يعني they have equal number of electrons and protons, so they have a net charge of 0, right? But when an atom loses or gains electrons, it will have different number of electrons and neutrons, so it will be called ion, an ion. It can be negative ion or positive ion. We will talk again about that in another part of this lesson. So when atoms or ions are held together, okay, by interactions, these interactions that hold the atoms together or the ions together, this what we call a chemical bond. So finally, chemical bonds will make for us new compounds, right? So a group of atoms that are held together by a chemical bond or by chemical bonds, many chemical bonds, is called a molecule. Like, look at here these examples here. If we talk about this, what is this? This is a molecule of water. We talk about it many times before, which is made of one oxygen atom and two hydrogen atoms. So together they make the molecule of water, H2O, which I told you before, it has this shape that looks like the Mickey Mouse shape, but here it's reversed upside down. Also, this is an example. There are a lot of molecules. The molecule of water is made of 3 atoms, but there are some atoms, and here this molecule also is made of 3 atoms only. This is the molecule of water, the same. Some other molecules are made of many atoms. Look, a big number of atoms. a molecule like the DNA that exists inside our cells, inside the nucleus of the cell, it is made of billions of atoms. Okay, so it differs. Some molecules are small, two or few atoms. Some molecules are made of a big number of atoms. Okay, such as some organic molecules that make proteins or nucleic acids or like this. Okay. Now we will talk about يعني an introduction to the chemical reactions. We will refresh our information. If you remember, the chemical reaction is a chemical change. It's the same as the chemical change. Okay, and the chemical change, it changes the identity of the substance. Chemical changes don't create or destroy atoms. In a chemical change, atoms are rearranged to make new substances with different properties. This is what we memorize very well, the law of conservation of matter. That said, the chemical change does not create or destroy the matter or the atoms. So, how the matter can change from a composition to another by the chemical change? What happens? Only the arrangement. If you remember, when I brought with me the model of the atoms, or when we went to the lab and we have seen by our eyes how with the model how I made by the balls, if you remember, the models of the atoms, I make from them different molecules. Just I connect them, then I decompose them to connect them in a new arrangement, and that's how we could change the arrangement. This what happens in the chemical changes or in the chemical reactions. So in order to for atoms to be rearranged, يعني for a chemical reaction to take place, chemical bonds have to be formed or broken. That's it. That's it. Now, here are some examples. We have an atom B and an atom A. They are not connected yet. After a chemical reaction, they had a chemical bond formed. So, a chemical bond is formed. So, this is in reaction 1. Reaction 2, a bond is broken. Previously, we have this molecule. Here we have this molecule. We have A and C, C in the middle, which is connected to 3 from A, and A here is connected to B. Then, so we have many chemical bonds between them. Then, some of these chemical bonds were broken. Let's say the chemical bond here between C and A is broken. So a bond is broken. Okay. In some other chemical reactions, some bonds are broken or some bonds are formed. Rearrangement. We have here C with D, C with D, and A is separated. Then C and D are separated. So these chemical bonds here are broken. Then new chemical bonds between D and D are formed, and between C and A are formed. That's what happens. Nothing else can cause a chemical reaction. The chemical reaction can take place by forming bonds, breaking bonds, or forming and breaking bonds. That's it. No other choice. That's it. Now, this is everything for today's part of the lesson. I will go to the end of the PowerPoint where I added the highlight of the lesson. We finished from the first, oh my God, the first 2 pages. This is the first page, this is the second page, and at the end of the second page they put for us this example. I want you to solve it by yourself. It's easy. I will talk about it now. Here we can see that we have a molecule, a molecule of hydrogen. I told you previously that all of the gases exist as molecules of 2 atoms from the same gas. That's why we see H2, O2, Cl2, which is the chlorine gas. All of these are gases. Gases like to exist as pairs of atoms. That's it. So here this is what? This is a molecule of hydrogen gas. It's made of hydrogen and hydrogen. Here it's made of chlorine. That's it. As what you see. So what will happen? Here we have a chemical bond between chlorine and chlorine. A chemical bond between hydrogen and hydrogen. What will happen? First, these chemical bonds will be broken. So the chemical bond is broken here. Okay, but also there are new chemical bonds will be formed between what and what? Between H chlorine gas and hydrogen gas. This is chlorine, this is hydrogen. So I have here HCl. This is also hydrogen. This is chlorine. So it will be also HCl. The same. Okay, now what happened here? A new chemical bond is formed. So they want us to count how many hydrogen atoms were there in the beginning, in the starting materials, or how many hydrogen atoms were there in the products. How many chlorine atoms were there in the starting materials, how many chlorine atoms were there in the products. Okay, so here what are these? Starting materials or reactants. Here these are products. So that's it. Do it. Answer it by yourself. It's very easy. And inshallah we'll see you tomorrow. What is the most important thing from this example? To know that the atoms are conserved, the matter is conserved. Also, to know that the chemical reaction can take place by breaking down the chemical bonds and forming new chemical bonds. That's it. Have a nice day. Thank you.